And away we go. It is the nightcap. Brought to you by our good friends at Hail Mary Sports Bar. Hold on one second. As we, I screwed up, Aaron. I had the read up, and then I pulled something else up, and then I went to go to the read, and I didn't have it up. But now I have it up. It's been a weekend. We'll get to it in a second. They're located on the main drag through Cheviot on Harrison Avenue. They are within the Dora District, so you can walk around from bar to bar with your drinks. They do not have a kitchen, but they do offer various food trucks full-time on the weekends, randomly throughout the week. They also have non-alcoholic options, and an entire cooler full, actually. So if you don't drink, that's okay. You can go with your friends to Hail Mary's. They have a full selection to keep your palate wet. They have a brand new walk-in cooler. Their draft lines are brand new. Everything in the draft system is up to code, state of the art. Not only do they pour the coldest beer around, but they pour 32.8 degree beer frosted glasses, 27 TVs, a giant TV wall, everything you could look for in a place to watch the game. So go visit our friends at Hail Mary Sports Bar in Cheviot. What's up, Aaron? How was your weekend?
It was all right. The 2-year-old's experiencing some gastro issues, but outside of that, we had a good weekend. Baseball, a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
Last tournament of the summer, I believe.
We had Kelsey's annual birthday blowout yesterday at my best friend's pool. So I cooked for like 30, 35 people. And then Kelsey had a sleepover with 6 of her best friends. And then I woke up this morning and had to feed 7 teenagers. Well, not this morning. They didn't go to bed until like 4. So I had to wake up late morning and prepare a brunch, I guess you could call it. But I need toothpicks to keep my eyes open right now.
So wait a minute. You had one blowout and I had multiple blowouts.
Yes. I'm not gonna poor Brennix. Poor Brennix. Tell her that's karma for hitting her baby sister in the head all the time.
Well, we're working.
She doesn't understand what karma is yet, but it's more than a guy on the Chiefs. Got him. Oh, but yeah, I'm tired. And I got radio tomorrow early. I'm in on Cincy 360. So I'm going to bed. I might play it, might sneak in a couple games of NCAA 25, and then I am hitting the sack. It's been a long one.
So for those who wanted an update on the Dynasty, by the way, just real quick, I'm going to wait to do anything until the first patch is out, because otherwise you end up with a 9-4 Alabama ranked number 1 in the country, and none of it makes sense. So we're gonna wait for that first patch to try and get the simulations correct.
I started over. I went through my first season, Aaron. I went 11-1. I lost to Colorado in the regular season by 3. I beat Utah in the conference championship game, and then got a bye in the playoff and got Georgia in my first game. And their worst player is better than my best player. So it was ugly. And then there was some stuff on recruiting I screwed up that I didn't realize, wasn't thinking. So I started over and I moved from varsity to All-American. So getting ready to go on a All-American dynasty. I beat the FCS Southeast, and I've got Pitt coming up here for my first real game that I might stream in a little bit. I tried to play Keegan the other night with lag. Don't do that. Don't play online with your friends if you've got lag. It was a bloodbath. He beat the piss out of me. It wasn't fun. Speaking of ugly, Nasty Natty bows out in their first game of the TBT. It was it was a comedy of errors from the start. I get there and I'm told Jake couldn't make it to town because of the airplane thing, the
Fiasco.
Microsoft fiasco. Isaiah Miller couldn't make it to town. Trey Scott couldn't make it to town. And Troy got caught. He came into town earlier in the week, then he went to a wedding. He couldn't get back. So they had to drive. So he didn't get there until like into the first quarter. Then Mamadou gets ejected. And then Jaron, I don't think Jaron Cumberland has ever missed 17 shots in a row in his life. And he starts the game 0 for 17. I will say 3 or 4 of those, like he drove to the rim and they just murdered him. Like literal, like forearms going and smashing on him and not calling fouls. And they did that they were consistent. They let everything go at the rim. So like not a huge deal with it.
And I didn't watch the majority of the game. I caught the ending, actually, the Elam ending. But I had to imagine that things were very physical if Mamadou Diarra is throwing punches, because he's about as zen as they come. He got bit in a game in his thigh and didn't do anything. Bit.
So he was on a fast break and just got straight chucked out of bounds. That's the problem. That's the one problem, the main problem, when officials just let it go, because then it's going to escalate. And they were chirping. Those two teams were chirping at each other essentially from the start. There was one dude, him and Jaron, like from the opening tip. I don't know if they knew each other, but they were. And the other guy got a technical earlier, right before Mamadou got kicked out. So like it was evident that like this was going to be ugly. But surprisingly, Jaron started 0 for 7, 0 for 8, and they were up after the first quarter. And Mamadou was the leading scorer. Hit a couple threes, had a nice layup in transition. Like, okay. You know, basically the feeling was like, all right, well, Jaron's not going to continue playing that bad, and they're winning. And let's be honest, the team they played was not good. Like, was not good.
Elam ending looked.
Oh, terrible. It was like I was just sitting there. I was sitting with a bunch of guys that were managers for Mick, Brent's crew. It's all Brent's buddies, guys I'd known, you know, during their playing days, and we were just, you know, I was just laughing. Like everybody's into it. Kelsey's cheering and screaming and yelling, and I'm just laughing at the comedy of errors that they were pretending to be basketball for most of that entire evening. But Jaron's going to go start 0 for 17. I mean, I think he finished 4 for 21. He did make his last 4 shots and got to the free throw line a bunch. But if Jake's not there, Trey's not there, Jaron starts 0 for 17, you're probably not going to win.
Good luck.
You're probably not going to win.
It's a lot to overcome. Absolutely.
You know, I was surprised. I thought like and Octavius Ellis and Nasir Brooks and Coriante DeBerry, like that's a pretty effective group to have at the rim. They struggled to get stuff going. They couldn't really. I mean, I think Nas had 14, but I mean, Octavius missed a 1-footer for the win. Like
at the end, yeah.
This just dunk it. They missed an alley-oop. That
is it. I mean, it's all too reminiscent of Octavius Ellis's last game.
Yeah, well, no, he made that one. It was just too late. This one, somehow he missed a perfect alley-oop that was thrown right to the front of the rim, and he just did. It didn't make.
He won a dunk contest over in Europe.
Yeah, it just goes to show like how much more physical the American game is, because I'm a pretty physical dude, but when the refs are just letting everybody beat the hell out of each other, scoring at the rim is not a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I said, in the Elam, I mean, it was still pretty physical at that point, and it was, I guess, I mean, I think you had about Billions only needed 1 point for like 7 real minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was 60-43, Aaron. They were getting blown out.
Yeah, because Trevor Moore shot the lights out. Yes, that Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore,
Yeah.
who was a practice Mick Cronin all-star, had more points in this game than maybe he had his entire career as a Bearcat.
So the funny part about that is Dan Horde texted me like right at the beginning of the game that about Trevor playing. And I was like, watch, he's going to hit like 5 threes. And
More
he
than
hit
that.
threes. No, he hit 5. I think he was 5 for 5 for 9. Yeah, 5 for 10. He was 8 of 13 from the floor. He had 23 points, game high 23 points. And I texted Dan. I was like, of course. And I think Dan's reply was unbleeping believable because he had a stretch where he wasn't even touching rim. Like he was throwing a beach ball into the ocean for a little while. And I know, I get this on the record. I know Trevor did not have the career he wanted to have here. I think, he came in, I think he was 17 when he got here. I think he enjoyed college life tremendously.
Good on him.
I think if you ask him, he would tell you that he probably should have grown up a little quicker. And he got in his own way in a lot of ways while he was here. It was good to see him. I always liked Trevor. He was a good kid with a good personality.
He and Mamadou were like best friends. I feel like every time I saw them running around tailgates right before football games, they were always together, always doing something on social media, whether they were going live or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Trevor was awesome. Like I really enjoyed Trevor. But hilarious. It was funny. I called Coach Sabino because Sabino recruited him to Cincinnati, and I was like, boy, do I have a story for you. And we had a good laugh about it. But good for Trevor. That was I think he went 1 for 9 in the second round today. 1 for 9 from 3. So he had his moment in the sun. Yeah. Well, the glass slipper turned back into a pumpkin.
Well, you said he had his moment in the sun. Well, he flew too close to the sun, is what he did.
Right. But I did want to touch on something else because people are upset that there were only 6 or 7 guys. They were upset that John Newman and David DeJulius and Landers Nolly were there but weren't playing. You have to understand, this isn't like you're dealing with the NBA. You are dealing with guys that are playing in hundreds of different leagues around the world. And that some have different end times, some have different start times, like some have different report dates. Like I know I talked to John Newman and we were talking about his pro team and he was leaving today. So you couldn't ask John Newman to play because he would have been available Friday, but then he wouldn't have been available the rest of the tournament. And I know Julius and Landers are getting ready to head over for the start of their pro careers. Jacob Evans' season ended Thursday. I think he was in Canada. So he was trying to come in from Canada to play in the TBT. I think here's what's important for people to remember, Aaron. These guys are coming to town on their own dime. This is not, they are not getting paid a dime unless they win the entire tournament and win the $1 million. So nobody's missing out on their pro contract that is paying them real life money to support themselves and some of them their families. People, I know everybody wants UC to win. If they keep scoring, we win. I get it. But there's not a whole lot that TBT can do. Everybody's like, well, why don't they move the start of the tournament so it doesn't interfere with the summer league? Guess what? Most of the guys playing in this aren't in the summer league. There was one, I don't know if Isaiah was in the summer league. Isaiah Miller was in the summer league again this year or not. But maybe 2 guys on the roster that had a summer league conflict. You had one guy that was coming in from Canada. I think Marquez Letcher Ellis was also the end of his pro season would have allowed him to either be here today or for Tuesday's game if they had advanced that far. So there's no easy answer to this. There's no like quick fix. It's not okay. This is the report date for European basketball, and this is like the end of the summer league, and we're going to fit this tournament in the middle. Everybody just relax. It's a fun summer like thing. Like it's been a fun addition to the summer calendar. Because of the flight stuff and the computer stuff, did it probably put a wrench in the fun that they could have had this year? Sure. I know the first year that they did this, the guys probably didn't take it serious enough. And they were, having basically a reunion, going out and partying. I know last year they took it pretty serious and they were trying to win. And this year would have been the same thing, but they just never actually got the team together.
So I've seen some people calling for this to be next year to be the last run for this team before maybe blowing the whole thing up. I don't understand why any of that would be a thing, I guess. Like why wouldn't you just continue to build on this? You have a foundation set.
Right.
Build on it until I think the team would be able to tell you do have a manager, believe it or not, in KJ. And between KJ and Kane, you have coaches, and you should be able and Cashmere, right? So you should be able to be like, hey dog, it's time to hang him up. I don't think this is for you anymore. And it should be okay to have that conversation. Kane hasn't played the whole time. And Kane might still got it.
Well, Kane and Kyle have both had kind of the same. And when Kyle told me this, it made sense. He was like, either I'm a basketball player or I'm not. Like, am I a coach? Am I a basketball player? I'm not both. Like, you can't.
It's too hard to bounce between.
Well, his point was like, you can't have one foot in if you're playing basketball, like competitively for money or like in a thing like this. Like it's not just something that like, I think, and this is the problem that the team across town has had, is they've had some guys on their team that aren't like focusing full time on basketball. So then they come back for this event, and there are guys in this league, in this tournament, very seriously doing it to win $1 million. Not
sure.
I think what people also don't really grasp about this thing, it initially started as like what Cincinnati is doing right now, where it's like an alumni thing and it's our alumni against your alumni. That's not by and large what it is anymore. A majority of the teams are trying to win $1 million. Like legitimate pros that are doing this to win a significant chunk of money. So if you're not serious, don't do it. But I didn't get that vibe from that group this year or last year. I got the vibe that, okay, then maybe like after a game last year, I think after one of the games, I think after the Xavier game, they went out and had some fun. Of course, like, sure. But they're not just coming to town and going out and partying all night and like, so people, it's okay. Like it's a fun thing in the summer. Nobody needs to be fired. Nobody like it's that's not what this is. Relax. See you tomorrow night for the BBP. That is the nightcap, brought to you by Hail Mary Sports Bar, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See